I'm 22, and I've been with my boyfriend, Dan, 25, for 3.5 years. We moved in together last summer after he landed a new job and convinced me it was the perfect time to take the next step. At first, everything was fine. Normal couple stuff, fighting over whose turn it was to do dishes, stealing the covers, arguing over what show to binge. But recently, things have started to feel off, and I can't explain exactly why. Just this weird heaviness hanging between us. It started 2 weeks ago when I had a really bad headache at work and came home early. Dan wasn't supposed to be back until 7. I went straight to our bedroom to lay down, and while I was searching the nightstand drawer for the lavender roll-on I always keep there, I found something I definitely didn't expect. A spare key, but not just any spare key. This one was taped to a business card with a woman's name written on it in black ink. The handwriting looked rushed. The tape was old, like it had been there a while. I stared at it for a long time, feeling this slow, creeping sense of dread. I didn't recognize the name, and it definitely wasn't a key to our apartment. It didn't match either of our locks. I know because I actually tried it, just to be sure. I didn't confront Dan right away. Instead, I carefully put the key back exactly where I found it. I even took a photo of it with the card, just in case he moved it later. Something in me said to observe. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been quietly watching art in slow-mo, and today was the moment in my stomach. So today started like any other. Dan kissed me on. I smiled, said goodbye, and waited for the sound of the front door click. Then I waited exactly 10 minutes. That's how long of our street. I didn't go. I called in sick. I've done that 3 times in the last 2 weeks. I know I can't keep doing it much longer, but my brain has been too fogged to focus on anything else. Once I was sure he was gone, I went back into the nightstand and checked. The key was gone. That was the first punch to the chest. I opened the photo I took and looked at the card again. Her name was Lily Grant. No address, no phone number, just the name written across the back of a business card for some weird crystal and healing shop downtown. I googled it, but nothing came up. No listings, no reviews, like the shop didn't even exist. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. Instead, I pulled out Dan's iPad, which he barely uses anymore. I remembered that ages ago. We used to sync our phones to it when we first moved in. I had no idea if it still synced his messages, but I decided to try anyway. It was still connected, and that's when I found it. A single voice message in the recently deleted folder. It hadn't even cleared yet. It was from Lily. Her voice was soft, almost childlike. She started by calling him baby, which made my stomach twist so violently I dropped the. Then she said she was sorry the other night, that she hoped he'd forgive her for overreacting, that she missed him, and then, at the very end, she said, I still haven't used the key. I'm waiting until you say it's okay. I played it 3 times, trying to wrap my head around the words. My hands were shaking so bad by the 3rd time, I had to set the iPad down before I dropped it. That's when I realized I didn't even feel angry, just frozen, because I don't know who she is. I don't know what the other night was. I don't know why she's waiting to use that key, or what's even behind the door it belongs to. All I know is my boyfriend of nearly 4 years gave another woman a key to something, and she thinks she needs his permission to use it, and now I have no idea what I'm living in, or who I'm sleeping next to. After I heard the voice message, I sat in our living room staring at the iPad like it was a bomb. My heart wasn't racing. It was slow, like everything had shifted into this surreal, muted version of reality, where I could still breathe, but it didn't feel like air was going in. I didn't delete the message. I didn't confront him. I just sat there, thinking, trying to string together any clues I'd missed. There had to be more. Something I'd overlooked. That's when I remembered the calendar. Dan uses Google Calendar religiously. He doesn't even make dinner plans without blocking out time. I never really paid attention to it because, well, we trust each other. Or at least we used to. He once gave me access to his calendar so I could book appointments for him while he was at work. I hadn't looked at it in forever. But now I pulled it up on my phone and started scrolling back through the past month. Nothing stood out at first, just work meets, gym days, our grocery runs. But then I noticed something weird. Every Thursday afternoon there was a block of time marked Consulting Midtown. It had no address, no details, just that 3-hour block. And it wasn't on his work calendar, it was on his personal one. He never mentioned in consulting work on the side, ever. The weirdest part, the calendar entry started popping up right around 4 Thursdays in a row. I stared at the last entry, last Thursday. That was the day he came home late. Said he got stuck at the office and forgot to grab groceries like I. That's also the number smelling something strange in his hoodie when it wasn't perfume. Not really. Just this subtle scent, almost like incense. I didn't think anything of it but now I can't stop thinking about it. Midtown isn't close. It's a 40-minute train ride. If he's not working there, and there's no real consulting job, then what the hell is he doing? And who the hell is Lily Grant? I did what any normal person in this situation would do. I looked her up. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Nothing. I even tried Reddit. No hits. No trace. It was like she didn't exist. Or like she was trying not to. I was about to give up when I thought to check his Venmo history. It's public if you don't set it to private. And there it was. 4 Thursdays in a row. Payments to Lily Grant. Each one for $80. The first payment just said, "Thanks." The second, "For last time." The third, same as before. And the most recent one? It said, "Key delivery. Be careful." I don't know what I expected to find, but not that. Now I'm sitting here wondering if the man I love is paying someone to do something behind my back, something dangerous enough to need a warning. And I don't know how much longer I can pretend I don't know. I couldn't sleep. I stayed up all night scrolling through Lily's Venmo profile. Her page was nearly empty. No profile photo, no bio, nothing but a few transactions with usernames I didn't recognize, and Dan's name every Thursday like clockwork. Every time I looked at key delivery, be careful, my brain spiraled into new theories. None of them were good. By morning, I had two choices: keep spiraling in silence, or find out exactly what Midtown meant. So I made a decision. Dan thought I had work. I told him I was staying late for a team training, and he didn't ask any questions. Around 1:30 p.m., I left our apartment and headed for Midtown. I took the same train he would have taken, trying to retrace his calendar steps. It felt stupid, like I was playing detective in some cliché drama, but I had nothing else to go on. Just a time, a vague location, and a name that felt more fictional by the minute. I walked up and down 2 blocks near the address pinned on one of Dan's older calendar entries. There was no sign of any consulting office. No buildings with his company name. No crystal shops either. But I did notice something strange. One of the older buildings had a front door with no label. No buzzers, no mailboxes. Just a faded keypad and a single camera above the door. I stood across the street pretending to check my phone and watched as 2 people came and went. Both entered a code. Both looked around before going in. No signs. No deliveries. No obvious reason for the place to even exist. It didn't feel like an apartment building. It didn't feel like anything, really. It felt hidden. Eventually, I crossed the street and hovered near the door, pretending to be on a call in case anyone walked by. My heart was racing. I wasn't sure what I was doing, or what I even hoped to find. Then I saw it. Just inside the door, through the narrow glass pane, was a wall of tiny locked boxes. Not mailboxes, key boxes. Dozens of them. My mind was spinning. Why would Dan need a key for a place like this? Who is Lily? Why is he paying her every Thursday? I was about to walk away when a man came and I caught the door just before it shut. I slipped inside, and suddenly, I was in a small, dim lobby that felt more like a vault than a building. The air smelled faintly like old paper and incense. Everything was silent. No one was at the desk. The elevator had no buttons, just a keypad. I had no key, no code, nothing. I stood there frozen, staring at the elevator. Then I turned to the wall of boxes. Box 14 had a fresh fingerprint smudge, and that was the only one with a tiny sticker on. The sticker said, LG. I left. I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to explain myself, but more than anything, I didn't want to know what was behind the Not yet, because now I wasn't just afraid I was cheating. I was starting to think this had nothing to do with cheating at all. I didn't go home right away after I left the building. I walked for blocks, hands buried in my jacket, heart thudding like it knew something I didn't. I kept replaying it all. The hidden key box, the sticker with her initials, the eerie silence of that place. It didn't feel like an apartment. It felt like a hideout, and that terrified me. By the time I got home, it was after 6. Dan was already there, acting like everything was normal. He'd started dinner, had music playing, even asked how my training went. I lied, told him it was boring, routine. He smiled and kissed my forehead like nothing had shifted, like I hadn't spent the day unraveling a thread that could snap at any second. Then he dropped a casual bomb. He said he might have to go out of town next week for work, possibly overnight. Nothing confirmed yet, just a heads up. He said it so casually I nearly choked on my water, because Dan never travels for work, ever. His job is fully remote. He literally brags about never having to wear pants during Zoom meetings. So I asked, "Where would you go?" And he didn't miss a beat. Probably Midtown. That office I've been helping with consulting stuff. Midtown. The lie slid out of his mouth like it had been rehearsed. I just nodded, heart thudding, trying to breathe like a normal person. The same Midtown where he's paid Lily Grant 4 times. The same Midtown where a nameless building with key boxes sits hidden behind locked glass. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay awake listening to him snore beside me, wondering what else he'd lied about, wondering how far this thing really goes. And then this morning, something new happened. Dan left for work as usual, but a few hours later, I got an alert on my email from the Gmail account we share for bills. A calendar up. Dan had scheduled another consulting but it wasn't for Thursday, it was for Saturday. And it was marked as private. He's never marked a calendar event as private. Not once. I clicked on it again and again like the word might shift, like maybe I was imagining it. But no, it was right there. Saturday, Midtown, private. And now I'm not wondering if I should follow him. I'm wondering if I need to, before this spirals into something I can't fix, can't explain, and can't walk away from. Because if I'm right, Dan's hiding more than a key. He's hiding an entire life. Saturday came faster than I expected. My nerves were shot before I even opened my eyes that morning. Dan was already up, freshly showered, dressed in jeans and a black hoodie. The same hoodie I'd smelled incense on weeks ago. He said he had a quick thing to handle, that he wouldn't be gone more than a few hours. No details. No mention of Midtown. Just kissed my cheek like it was any other day and walked out the door. But I was already dressed, keys in hand and 30 seconds behind him. I tailed him on foot from half a block away, kept my hood up, face down, heart thudding like it would give me away. He didn't notice me. He didn't even glance back once. He took the same train route I had earlier in the week. Same stops, same street, same building, and I watched him walk right through that unmarked door, like he'd done it 100 times. I didn't go in after him, not this time. I stood across the street with my phone pressed to my ear, pretending to be on a call, and started the stopwatch app. I stood there for 2 hours and 17 minutes, and when he finally came back out, he wasn't alone. He was laughing, and beside him was a man I'd never seen before. Tall, older, maybe early 40s, shaved head, dressed in all black, no smile, no emotion. They spoke for less than a minute at the door. The man handed Dan something, small, silver, quick, and then walked back inside, shutting the door behind. Dan slipped the item into his hoodie pocket and walked away like nothing had happened. And I followed again. But this time, he didn't go home. He went 2 blocks down, turned into a parking garage, and got into a car I didn't recognize. It wasn't his. We only own one car, and it was still parked at our place. This was a black sedan, tinted windows, clean plates. I took a picture of it and sent it to myself, just in case. Then he drove away. I didn't follow. I just stood there, because something shifted in me watching that exchange. This wasn't about an affair anymore. This wasn't about some girl with a key. This wasn't even about betrayal. It felt bigger than that, deeper, like I was suddenly orbiting a secret I was never supposed to know. And Dan, the man I've shared a bed with for almost 4 years, he was starting to feel like a complete stranger. Dan came home late Saturday night, said the meeting ran long, and apologized for missing dinner. He had takeout with him, my favorite place, even remembered to get extra garlic sauce, like he was trying to smooth over something I hadn't even brought up. I watched him carefully, the way he avoided my eyes, just a little too much, the way he tossed his hoodie into the laundry basket like he wanted it out of sight. He looked calm, normal, but his hands were tense, his jaw too tight. Something had changed. I didn't say a word. I didn't mention Midtown. I didn't ask who the man was. I didn't ask where he drove off to in a car we didn't own. I just acted like everything was fine, like I was tired, like I hadn't followed him across the city and watched him step out of a building that looked like a front for something else. I thought I was doing a good job hiding it, until this morning. He left for coffee, said he was meeting a friend, but about 15 minutes after he walked out the door I got a text, from a blocked number. "You shouldn't be following him. It's dangerous." I froze. My hands went cold. I stared at the screen like the words might rearrange themselves into something less terrifying. But that was it. Just one message. No name. No follow-up. I didn't respond. I tried calling the number, but it was disconnected. Spoofed, probably. Then I checked the photo I had taken of the car the day before. The black sedan. I opened the image, zoomed in on the plate, and ran it through a public registry site. The result? No record found. That's not normal. I tried again. Different site. Same thing. No match. As if the car didn't exist. I've been spiraling ever since. Dan came home later and acted like nothing happened. Said his friend bailed. I smiled. Laughed at one of his dumb jokes. Made dinner like always. But the whole time I kept wondering, does he know I followed him? Did the man in the hoodie see me? Is Lily the one who texted? Or is Dan playing a longer game than I ever imagined? The truth is, I don't think I'm the only one pretending, and now we're both acting. And I don't know how much longer I can keep it up without something breaking. Today started like any other, until it didn't. I ran out of toothpaste, of all things. I almost asked Dan to grab some, but something inside me said no, go yourself. Maybe I just needed the air. Maybe I was looking for a moment of normalcy. The corner pharmacy was quiet. I grabbed what I needed and wandered toward the self-checkout, but something on the way stopped me cold. There was a woman at the back counter picking up a prescription, mid-30s, short dark hair, coat too big for her frame. She turned just enough that I could see her profile, and my stomach flipped. I recognized her. I'd never seen her before in person, but I knew that face. I'd studied every inch of it 2 nights ago, when I found an old photo in Dan's archived email folder. One he'd buried deep, like he never wanted it seen. It was Lily. I don't know how I knew, but I did. My body knew. My mind screamed it. The curve of her mouth, the slight scar on her chin. It was her. I stood behind a shelf of allergy meds and waited, heart racing, trying to decide what to do. She signed something, grabbed her prescription, and walked out. No glance in my direction, and that should have been the end of it. But when she left, the pharmacist called after her by name. "Have a good one, Ms. Grant. And I swear to you, I almost dropped the toothpaste." So it was her. Lily Grant. A real person. Not some ghost. Not a hallucination I invented in a paranoid spiral. But here's the thing. She didn't look dangerous. She didn't look like someone who ran shady operations in blank buildings. She looked scared, tired. Her eyes were sunken. Her hands shook when she signed the form. She clutched her prescription like it was life or death, and that changed something for me. Because now I wasn't just terrified of what Dan was hiding. I was starting to think Lily might not be a villain in all of this. She might be a victim. I didn't follow her. I should have, but I froze. I watched her walk out and disappear down the sidewalk, disappearing just like she had from every trace of social media, search engines, and real-world record. And now I'm sitting here, staring at the only clue I managed to grab. The prescription bag she dropped in the parking lot without realizing. There's no label, just a pharmacy logo and a folded receipt wedged inside. I haven't opened it because part of me knows, once I do, there's no turning back. I sat with that bag for nearly an hour, just holding it, turning it over in my hands. It felt heavier than it should have, not in weight, just in consequence. I knew once I looked, I'd cross a line I couldn't uncross. Eventually, I opened it. Inside was a small orange bottle, no label, but tucked under the cap was the folded receipt. I unfolded it slowly, expecting her name, her address, something small, some kind of thread I could pull. But the name at the top wasn't Lily Grant. It was Dan's full name, his date of birth, our home address. I blinked at it, confused, rereading it over and over like I was misinterpreting something. But it was his, no doubt. And the prescription, lorazepam, a high dose, recently filled, anti-anxiety meds. That wasn't even the part that shook me. What broke me was the quantity, 90 pills. That's a 3-month supply, for someone who hadn't mentioned so much as a single panic attack. So why was Lily picking it up? Why was it in her hands? Why wasn't it me helping him through whatever this was? I started shaking, not because of the pills, but because I suddenly felt like I was on the outside of someone else's story, like Dan had 2 lives. One with me, one I thought I knew, and another, deeper, darker, with Lily. But I wasn't even done unraveling yet. I reached back into the bag and pulled out the pharmacy info sheet tucked behind the receipt, and that's when I saw it. The emergency contact, listed for the prescription, L. Grant, Lily Grant, not me. Not his sister, not his mom, her. My heart stopped. I sat there in our kitchen, in the apartment we picked out together, shaking with a realization I never could have prepared for. This wasn't just someone he was helping. This wasn't just a secret side project or an affair or something shady he didn't want to explain. This was something intimate, long-term, personal. You don't list someone as your emergency contact unless they're your first call when something goes wrong, and I wasn't even on the list. Not even second. And suddenly, 1,000 moments flashed through my mind. The night he said he was overwhelmed and needed space. The Thursday he left dinner half-eaten and said he had a migraine. The time he snapped at me for opening a drawer in his desk. It all felt like pieces now, pieces of a story I hadn't been told. Dan was unraveling, and whatever Lily meant to him, whatever her role in all this really was, I wasn't sure anymore if she was the one keeping secrets, or the one keeping him alive. It's over now. At least the part where I pretend I don't know. I confronted him last night, not with screaming or throwing things, though I wanted to. I just sat him down, showed him the receipt, and asked one question. Why is Lily your emergency contact? Dan didn't even try to lie. He just shut down. His whole body deflated. His face dropped, like the weight of everything he'd been carrying finally collapsed on top of him. And what he told me, I still don't fully understand how to process it. Lily isn't just someone he knows. She's his sister, not by blood. Foster system. They were placed in the same home when Dan was 9 and Lily was 11. She looked out for him, protected him, took beatings for him when their foster dad was drunk and looking for someone to hit. He told me they lost touch when she aged out of the system. He got adopted. She didn't. For years, he thought she was dead or on the street. He said he tried to find her, but she'd changed her name multiple times and disappeared from every record, until 6 months ago, when she reached out. She was in trouble. Deep trouble. No details, just that she'd been running from someone. Dan didn't ask questions. He just showed up. That unmarked building in Midtown? It's a safe house, paid for in cash. The key delivery notes? That was him getting her new security codes, burner phone, meds, everything she needed to survive, quietly, off-grid. I asked him to just tell me, and that's when he said something I didn't expect, because she begged me not to. He told me Lily didn't want me to. She existed, said she was unstable, said I'd worry, said if I found out who she was running from, I'd never sleep. And here's the worst. He was right, because after I pushed, after I demanded the truth, Dan told me exactly why Lily was in hiding. She witnessed a crime, something big, something connected to a man whose name Dan refused to say out loud. She'd been involved, barely, he said, but enough to put her in danger, enough that she was told to vanish or end up like the others. The black car? The man I saw hand Dan something? He's not a dealer. He's her handler. A contact from whatever unofficial, off-the-books protection program she'd fallen into. No government ties. Just shadows and fear. Dan had been helping her stay alive, funding her meds, keeping her under the radar, acting as the only person she trusted in the world. And he didn't tell me, because she thought I'd leave him if I knew the truth. In a twisted way, she was right, because part of me did want to leave. Not because of what he did, but because he shut me out completely, lied for months, let me fall apart thinking he was cheating, let me believe I was losing my mind. But then he said something I can't forget. I knew you'd find out eventually. I just hoped I'd have time to explain it before it destroyed everything. And maybe we're still too late for that. I don't know where this leaves us. We didn't fight. We didn't cry. We just sat there, quiet, until he finally said he'd take me to her if I really wanted to see. I said yes. And today I stood in front of that blank door again. Dan entered the code. The elevator opened, and for the first time, I saw what was upstairs. A single apartment, bare, one window sealed shut, a mattress on the floor, a kettle, a box of burner phones, and Lily, sitting cross-legged on the ground, thin and tired, and alive. She didn't say much. She just looked at me, really looked at me and said, "Now you know. That's all. Now I know. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that knowledge. Not yet. But for the first time in weeks, I finally understand one thing. Dan wasn't hiding a secret life. He was protecting one, and maybe I'll stay. Maybe I won't. But at least now I'm not living in the dark anymore."